Hello fellow doll lovers, it's Janie. Welcome to another video on my channel. I haven't done one of these kinds of videos in a while, but I'm very excited to talk with you guys about this today. This is another one of the Who Am I type videos where I talk a little bit about myself and my doll collecting journey. I've done two of these in the past, the why I started my YouTube video and why I started collecting dolls, or how I started collecting. And if you're interested in watching either of those, I will put them down in the description. They're just videos of me sitting down and, just talking about things. Keep in mind that these videos are not scripted. I don't have anything super planned out, just because I want to be as real with you guys as possible, and I want it to be authentic, and I don't want to have this super planned out thing. I do know what I want to say, hence the title of the video, which is I wanted to talk to you guys about sort of my doll collecting journey and how it's okay for tastes and preferences to change as you grow as a collector. When I first started, I was, like 3 years old. My first Barbie, if you've seen the previous Who Am I video, you'll know, was a Genevieve Barbie it was a Sugar Plum Princess Barbie from the Barbie Nutcracker movie. And the rest of the dolls were dolls that I had sort of from garage sales and things like that. And then once I, got out of the I'm a kid playing with Barbies phase and got into this is something I want to do as a hobby, I'm collecting dolls now. Once I got into that I really had a very specific thing that I liked. First off, it was just Barbie. And a lot of them were more like either like newer Barbies that were just coming out at the time, or older Barbies that were collectors. So I was not interested in 90s Barbies or 80s Barbies or older Barbies. I thought like 60s, 70s Barbies were ugly, just because they were old and different, and I was very precise in what I liked. And however, disclaimer, there's nothing wrong with having specific tastes or more limited things that you like as a doll collector. If you only collect one kind of doll from one era, that is not bad. You are allowed to like what you like. You're allowed to collect what you like to collect, and nobody should tell you, well, you can't just collect that. You need to collect this too, or you need to like all of these things. You're allowed to like what you like. But at the time, I really was not interested in 90s Barbies or any of the older Barbies unless they were some sort of collector Barbie that I just happened to find interesting. I really wasn't very interested in like the blonde hair, blue-eyed Barbies either. So like Barbie fashionistas from the 2011 era, I would just steal their articulated bodies for my other dolls. I was not interested in any of the generic blonde-haired, blue-eyed Barbies. And that kind of stayed for a while, and I got into starting collecting Disney dolls from like the Disney store. I did have a lot of Mattel Disney dolls, just that I'd gotten from Walmart when I was a kid or had found from thrift stores. And I had a few of those, but I wasn't super into that. I wasn't like specifically looking for those dolls when I would go to garage sales or thrift stores, unless they were just ones that struck my fancy. So it wasn't like I collected this kind of doll. It was, this doll looks interesting to me. I like her face. I'm gonna keep her. But I started collecting dolls from the Disney store after Barbie. And then I got really, really into Ever After High. This was around, I want to say 2014 or so. So Hat-tastic Tea Party had just come out, and my very first Ever After High doll was Hat-tastic Tea Party Apple. My dad bought her for me when we went out on like a dad-daughter date, and he let me go and pick out a doll, and it was between her and Cerise, but I just thought that she was so striking with her like red and black outfit and her like fair skin and pale hair and her red lips. I just thought she was gorgeous, and I still have her. And a lot of dolls, and I've mentioned this in my thrift store videos and in another Who Am I video, but my dad had this rule: however many dolls that I got at a specific time, I had to go and pick out the same amount, like number of dolls to get rid of or donate. So I ended up getting rid of a lot of dolls that I, wish I hadn't, just because whenever I got more dolls, if I got 5 dolls, I had to go home and find 5 to get rid of, which it does make sense for a kid who you don't want to have too many dolls. But as I started, going into the collector phase of my life, it was kind of sad. And I have been looking for a lot of those dolls to sort of bring them back. And it's slowly but surely happening. I'm coming across them. I'm not like specifically searching them out unless they're dolls that were really important to me. But they've just kind of, trickled back in, and I've happened to find them at thrift stores, and subscribers have gifted them to me, not even knowing that they were dolls that I once had. But I got into Ever After High, and I was really big into those. And those are the biggest percentage of box dolls slash new and box dolls that I have in my collection at the moment. Most of my other dolls are used from eBay, from thrift stores, garage sales, mostly thrift stores, some from flea markets. But a lot of Ever After High dolls, my parents would give them to me as gifts. My parents would, get them for me. And those were the dolls that I think I got the most into. I was still finding Barbies and things from the same kind of, type that I wanted. I liked the Barbie Life in the Dream House dolls when those came out. I was probably around 12 or 13 at the time. And around that time, I started kind of looking at Monster High. I would watch videos like my Froggy stuff, and I really liked the Monster High dolls that they had. And I did collect Live dolls at this time. So I was collecting mostly Barbie, Disney, Live, and Ever After High. And I had one La Di Da doll that I won a prize at church for. And I had her, but I ended up donating her, and she was one of the big ones that I wanted to get back. She was one of the fruit themed ones. She was the watermelon one. I was so original, and I named her Melanie because she was a watermelon, but I ended up getting rid of her because she was the only one that I had, and I thought that she stuck out too much, so I got rid of her. But I really just had Barbie, Disney, Live, and Ever After High. And I was starting to get really interested in Monster High. However, my parents had some hesitancy in letting me collect those because they didn't want their, preteen daughter, early teens daughter, having dolls that were, monsters or whatever. But eventually, as I showed them the show, and I kind of convinced them, and I started slowly bringing in Monster High to my collection. And this was in my early YouTube days, so if you go back and you look at 13, 14-year-old Janie, this is when her Monster High collection is really starting. And pretty much with my Ever After High collection as well, you can kind of see it from the beginning of YouTube. But I started collecting Monster High, and I got really into buying dolls off of eBay once I started my YouTube channel. I hadn't really done that much in the past. It was mostly just thrift stores and garage sales. Whenever my grandmother would come to town or whenever we would go and visit her was mainly whenever I went thrifting and rummage sailing and things like that. And I would also go for my birthday. But I would go garage sailing. I have so many happy, fond memories of going to garage sales for my birthday with my grandma. And I've said this before in another Who Am I video, but I loved to kind of go up. I was 6 or so, and I'd go up to the person running the sale, and I'd be like, guess what? Today's my birthday. And they would be like, well, why don't you pick something out? And I was like, that's what I wanted you to say. So then I would go and pick out, my Barbie or whatever that they had. But once I started getting older and I wasn't as cute, they stopped doing that, unfortunately. But I started buying things off of eBay once I started my YouTube channel, just because with school and things, I really wasn't able to get out and go thrifting much. So I would buy things on eBay for my channel, so I would have things to upload, and also because I had saved up a lot of money and I was buying dolls with it, because what else are you gonna buy? You buy books and you buy dolls if you're me. But I got a lot of Monster High dolls from thrift stores and from eBay mostly, and started growing that collection. And I still really wasn't collecting older Barbies or the generic blonde-haired, blue-eyed Barbies. And then slowly but surely, I started getting into the Barbie fashionistas with the articulation with the blonde hair and the blue eyes, mainly because I realized that they were kind of rare. And then I took a closer look at them, and I realized that I really did, like their makeup and things like that. But then what changed my mind about the 90s Barbies, specifically, the more generic looking ones, was I was going through my grandmother's toy chest, years after. I was probably about 15, maybe even 16 at this point. So I had already, been really collecting for a while. I'd probably been collecting since I was 11 or 12. Because that's the sort of the age where you begin to get to be too old for dolls. But I was looking through my grandma's toy chest, and I found this Barbie. She was an Arizona jean company Barbie from I think 1996 or so, but she didn't have any clothes, but she still had her hat on, and she was in there all by herself, and I pulled her out, and at first I was just excited that I found a doll, but then as I was looking at her, I really began to think that she was very pretty. Firstly, because she had red lips, and I always liked dolls that had red lips, so even though this doll had blonde hair and blue eyes and was a generic 90s Barbie, I liked her red lips, and her hair was in really good condition. But as I, slowly started, appreciating her, when I'd go to thrift stores, I would buy dolls that looked like her, and maybe they didn't have red lips. Maybe they were just, more of a basic 90s Barbie. And then I got into watching 1,000 Splendid Dolls YouTube videos. And it was through Shelly's YouTube channel that I started really appreciating 90s Barbies, just because she talked so much about them and she had so many of them posted on her Flickr. And when I would be, trying to identify certain dolls, I would be scrolling through her Flickr and seeing all of these 90s and 80s Barbies that I thought were actually very pretty. So my heart started to be softened towards them, and eventually I decided that I was going to integrate them into my collection. And I think that they are so pretty. And then especially after Stranger Things came out, I really started enjoying the 80s, 90s era in general. So then I would find dolls that looked very, very true to the 80s, even though they were, 90s Barbies, and I just thought they were so fun. And I loved dressing them up in like the bright neon colors and the big hair. And so eventually I decided to bring those in, and also through 1,000 Splendid Dolls, I really started having an appreciation for like the older 70s, 60s Barbies. However, I don't have many of those just because you don't find those very often anymore. But I have a few, and I have a few 80s Barbies as well. My collection is sort of growing, but the older they are, the harder they are to find. So I don't have too many, but I've started to appreciate them more. And most recently, so I've been collecting all of those things. And then Project MC Squared came along, and I really liked Project MC Squared, so I started collecting those. And once I decided that I really missed my original La Di Da doll, I started sort of bringing those back, and I also started enjoying Winx and all of those other kinds of fashion dolls. And that all sort of happened around the age of 15 and 16 as well. I think that was when I really just started to appreciate dolls in general instead of the more specific ones. So I really liked Live Dolls. I really liked DC Superhero Girls. It took me a while to decide to get into Disney Descendants, but I'm really enjoying those as well. And as of late, the most recent sort of additions to my I've decided to collect this journey has been the bigger Disney toddler dolls. For example, we have Merida back here, and at first it was only the ones with the inset eyes, but just sort of recently I've begun to find some that don't have inset eyes that I think are very, very cute, like this Merida. So I've started collecting bigger ones. And a big milestone, and a bunch of people on my channel were asking me, when are you going to collect Bratz dolls? And I got some from a subscriber as a gift, and I thought they were so pretty. And also through Shelly's channel, Bratz are a big part of her doll collecting journey, and I would see all of her pictures on her Flickr and her collection videos and her doll guides. I would see all of these Bratz, and I loved the quality of their fashion. And I had been collecting My Scene for a couple years as well, just because they were more rare. I started collecting My Scene, I think, around 13. I forgot to mention that, but around 13, 14, I found a couple of My Scene dolls at a thrift store, and I was like, they look like Bratz, but they have Barbie bodies, but they're not Bratz. This is kind of weird, so I looked into them and I did research, and I really liked what I found. And there was this thrift store called USA Family Thrift, and if you have seen some of my older videos, you know all about them. But they have given me I bought from them hundreds of Barbies, and I got most of my Scene dolls from them. But sorry, I had to backtrack. I did start collecting My Scene at about 13. But I really wasn't into Bratz, especially because my parents also were very hesitant to allow me to collect dolls that were called Bratz, especially ones that had so much makeup and the big lips and all that stuff. But once I got a little older, and I liked the more mature looking dolls, and I really always had liked their fashion, and I did like the Bratzillas and like the Brat fairy dolls, even though I didn't have any. I did decide to finally start collecting Bratz dolls probably when I was, 16 or 17. And you sort of see that on my YouTube videos for my journey. And then my most recent thing that I've begun to collect has been Rainbow High and Mermaids dolls, mostly because those are very new. Like those just started coming out, but I had been interested in them from like the moment that they came out. And I also liked Wild Hearts Crew dolls. They only have the original line, but that was a big line that I stocked until they went on sale, and I got the whole set at Tuesday morning for a huge discount. But I collect Wild Hearts Crew, and I now collect Rainbow High, which is, I've been buying mostly Rainbow High new in box because Walmart has been having amazing sales on them. I did buy one lot on Facebook Marketplace not too long ago, but I've been collecting Rainbow High, and I got my first Shadow High doll not too long ago and my first Mermaids doll, and those are my newest like kind of doll that I have started to collect. But that is my journey, and I know that it's very long just to sort of have me sit down and talk to you guys. However, I did want to show you the progression of the kinds of dolls that I collected, and it literally just went from Barbie with the occasional Disney doll, just from my old my old dolls that I had when I was a kid, to just all of the things. And now I have so many different kinds of dolls, and I'm having so much fun collecting, because instead of feeling like, oh, I can't collect that, that's a 90s Barbie, I don't collect those unless they're collector, it's like, I really like this Barbie, I think she's pretty, and I have so much fun because it doesn't really matter what kind of doll it is as long as I like it, and I add it to my collection. And I just wanted to sort of show you guys that, and to remind the doll collecting community that every person's collection is different. Everybody collects different things. Some people have a very wide variety of things they collect, like myself now, and Shelly, and just a bunch of other people. And then there are some that only collect Barbie, only collect Disney, limited edition collector, only collect Monster High and Ever After High. And that's okay. And it's just fun to sort of sit down and see how all of the different collectors, all have the same love of dolls, but they just have them in different branches. But I wanted to sort of show you guys that sort of video, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, even though I just sat down and talked to you. I know that it's actually pretty long, just to have me sit here and ramble. But if you guys want me to do more of these kinds of videos, please let me know in the comments below. I haven't done so many just because it seems like you guys really enjoy, thrift store hauls and vlogs and things like that, which I will still continue to do. But if you have any ideas for more questions that you have for me or topics you want me to discuss, please tell me in the comments below, and like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for more content, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!